We almost finished this chapter, but if you like to add light trails on the road, which I recommend to remove these cars from the street because not matching based on speed, but just as an example, I want to show you how to quickly make light trails in Photoshop. However, you could search on Google and composite these images on your project, but you could simply create by yourself. So I create a new document, something like 2000 by 1000. Doesn't matter resolution much here. Create. I make the background black, press Ctrl or Command I to invert the color. Create new layer. I set foreground color to white. You could make very simple by simple brush like that. Or maybe better to generate with variation. For instance, if you check carefully, usually they have multiple lines, not just a single. So better we make something like that. You could combine this type and this type. To do that, first of all, I create another new document. Maybe 500 by 500 pixels is enough. I make it black. White foreground, brush, make sure it is fully opaque and flow is 100. And just simply click view, click, and maybe some variation. Click, and click. Alright, actually to defining brush, we have to invert the colors. So black mean exists and white mean it is transparent. So go to image, adjustments and invert, or press Ctrl or Command I to invert it. Then Ctrl or Command A to select and edit. Define brush preset. Give the name 01. Alright, now I'm going to the second document. Enable brush, and it is the last brush. It is nice to match based on your angle here. However, still you could draw here, something like that. But I think the angle is not too special, so simply I draw straight lines. Click, hold on the shift and click for the next line. They're connected together. To make it more realistic, I double click on any empty area on the layer to go layer style dialog box. Enable outer glow. Decide which color you like to apply. Maybe red values. Alright. And no worries, as you know, styles are interactive, so anytime you change your layer, it will apply immediately. You could tweak some values like opacity, size, and spread. I think almost default values are fine, so okay. I cannot apply any specific color to here because it is pure white, unless if I press Ctrl or Command U, enable colorize and decrease the lightness. But it is not very sweet, so I cancel it. First of all, I blur it out to make some variation. Go to filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. You see, it is getting much better, not too strong, maybe something like that. Because this is separated from background, colorizing here is a bit hard again. So I press Ctrl or Command U and decrease lightness value a bit. Okay, now press Ctrl or Command B to bring color balance and start colorizing. More red for shadows and more yellow for highlights. We could make it stronger. Alright. I think that's fine for now. So I right click and convert it to smart object, drag it into your project. Okay. Control or Command T. Now I give some perspective effect. Control and drag it. Maybe something like here. Control Alt Shift or Command Option Shift on Mac and make it smaller to give some depth and perspective effect. Alright. And even angle. And maybe make it totally thinner. And you could apply motion blur, filter, blur, and motion blur. Similar angle. Check your result to not get wrong angle. Maybe something like 12, it is nice. And distance. Okay. Now you could change your blending mode. Something like linear dodge or vivid light. And decrease opacity. And if you need more variation, you could go filter, distort, and wave. I think it is too intense, so scale it down. Allow me to check the results. And as you see, my waves are too strong, but because it is a smart layer, simply double click on the right side icon of wave filter. Now you could decrease the opacity. You see? Simply you decrease the value of distortion. And you could make it thinner, thicker, reposition. Okay. Decrease opacity, apply any type of color you like. For example, I could add some layer adjustments, something like curve. Hold on the Alt or Option key and make clipping mask. I think you're familiar overall with this type of adjustments. For example, I could make it lighter, you see, and even from separated channels like red, I could increase or decrease the red value. Increase green value to make it a bit yellowish, or decrease, make it more red purple. And also for blue, make it magenta or pure red. If I select the layer, hold on the Alt or Option key, I could clone it, Control or Command T, and make other side. Also, I want to make another light trail, so Alt or Option Delete to fill pure white with foreground. Brush, I pick a standard brush. Alright. Maybe something like that. And much smaller here, 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 and here. Again, Control or Command A to select, edit, define brush preset, light trails 02. Okay. I delete this layer. Make another one with white color, click, shift click. As you see, it is getting very jagged. So instead of that, press F5 from your keyboard to open brush settings. Decrease spacing. Now I click and hold on the shift to draw a straight line. Maybe we need more gap. So I select regular brush, black color, and I'm trying to make more gap here. Hold on the shift key and draw. This time I blend it with background. It is nothing so different. Maybe not this one and this one. Okay. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. This time I won't use glow because I mix with background. So just blur it out. And Control or Command B to color balance and make it colorized. It still doesn't get to color. And highlight. You could even add bright light, something like that, or I decrease the light. You could also use Ctrl or Command L to bring levels and trim the output levels here. Now I could colorize again. Ctrl or Command B, highlight and make it colorized. Okay, don't take it too hard. I just select this section. V to enable move tool and drag it here. Not clipping, allow me to move it up. And it can change the blending mode, something like linear dodge or lighter color. I think linear dodge is nice. Click. I convert it to smart object, Ctrl or Command T. I want to make it much narrow, maybe even more. Okay. Now again, use lines as guide, Ctrl or Command. Okay. Control Alt Shift and make it narrow. This side, and for this side we have wider. Okay. I will move it up. The angle will change. Control Alt Shift and make it skew. I think still it is too thick, so make it thinner. Filter, blur, and motion blur. I think the angle is not too correct. You could use arrow keys to change the angle. See, the effect shows much better the angle it is correct or not. Something like 4 and decrease distance. Okay, and again, filter, distort, wave. Almost same value. It is nice, nothing special. Just double click on the wave and decrease the opacity. And you could even apply a bit Gaussian blur here, but not too intense, maybe just 1 pixel. And you could clone it for the next side. Control or Command T. Maybe something like that. And a bit wider, because this is close to camera. Hold on the control and bring it here. Alright. Now I could make the whole light trails as a group. Select them all, Control or Command G. Light trails. Now you could decrease opacity overall. Also note that because of light trails, usually we have overall blended light with the ground. So I duplicate the whole group and convert it to a smart object. You could now change the blending mode, something like linear dodge or screen or so. And I blur it out overall. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Larger values, something like that. And decrease opacity. Maybe about 20-30%. You see? Or I could add 40%.